Evening, friends. Ash here with another Georgia and Pennsylvania election update. It's November the 19th, 2020, and the results of the Georgia presidential election hand audit are in, and Biden still wins, but by a slimmer margin. This is from Savannah Now by Will Peebles, posted 7:44 p.m. 43. The Georgia Secretary of State's office has released the results of the state's hand audit, and President-elect Joe Biden's lead over President Donald Trump shrunk, but not enough to change the outcome. Over the past 6 days, poll workers in each of Georgia's 159 counties have been checking every ballot by hand for the presidential contest. Following the audit, Biden's lead in Georgia, approximately 14,196 before the process began, slipped to 12,284 after poll workers found unscanned memory cards in 4 counties: Floyd, Fayette, Douglas, and Walton. Biden received 2,475,141 votes in Georgia. Trump received 2,462,857. In Chatham, Biden received 78,316 to Trump's 53,248. In Georgia's recount, the highest error rate in any county recount was 0.73%. Most counties found no change in their finally tally. The majority of the remaining counties had changes of fewer than 10 ballots, according to the Secretary of State's office. But here's the interesting part. The Secretary of State's deadline to certify the election results is Friday at 5 p.m. The audit is a new requirement put in place by a law passed in 2019 that also provided for the new voting machines purchased last year. The state has chosen to do a risk-limiting audit in which a random sample of ballots or receipts generated by voting machines are checked against results produced by vote tallying equipment for accuracy. Raffensperger chose to audit the presidential race and said the tight margin meant that the audit would result in a full hand recount. But the audit was a test of the election equipment ahead of the Secretary of State's office certification. It's not, in a legal sense, a recount. In Georgia, a recount only happens when there is a close margin in an election, half a percentage point or less. Audits after an election are routine and often used by states to ensure that equipment and procedures counting the vote all works properly. In Georgia, a candidate can request a recount if the margin of victory is less than 0.5%. A call for a recount is expected for President Trump, and it would be conducted using the same scanners that read and tallied the unofficial results already released. So they didn't recount all the votes. They did an audit, a risk limiting audit of some of them, of the ballots or receipts generated by machines, and checked those against the equipment. So, well, it's yet to see what's going to happen. Is Trump going to ask for a full recount? But if some of the ballots are suspect, or, we don't know. Are they going to just run them through the same machine? And what's the efficacy of that? We don't know yet. Another interesting thing happened, and I had looked up risk limiting audit confirms Biden won Georgia. So we'll have to see how the rest of Georgia plays out, right? Is there going to be a full hand recount of everything? Are they going to, inspect ballots more thoroughly? Are they going to just be run through the same machine? We'll have to see how everything plays out with that recount there. It's still not over. But some interesting things came out of Georgia as well. Floyd County, Georgia terminates election director after statewide audit discovers uncounted votes, by Christina Layla. Floyd County's Board of Elections on Thursday voted to terminate its elections director after officials discovered thousands of uncounted ballots during the statewide audit. The found votes reportedly favor President Trump almost 2-1, cutting Joe Biden's lead. So we saw this, and his name is Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger on Monday evening immediately called for the elections director to step down. On Thursday, the board met for a special meeting and fired Floyd Chief of Elections Clerk Robert Brady. So Robert Brady's out as the Floyd Chief of Elections for losing some of the votes. That was interesting. And on top of that, two Georgia election directors put in 2-week notice drawing skepticism. This came out today in Just the News. And there's
Okay, so just this morning, got word from one of my sources here that Cherokee County, right, very big red county, President Trump currently has about 70% of the vote there. The elections director, who is Kim Stansel, and the assistant director, Jennifer Akins, apparently both put in their 2 weeks notice and are taking an early retirement. Now, this is amid a recount that we're still not completely done with, and then two very big Senate runoff races that are slated for January 5th. So people are saying the timing of both of these two taking their early retirement is very odd. So I'm actually going to be heading there right after this hit here to investigate further.
So you can see that's a little odd timing, right? How come all three different people now, two of them they're stepping down and one's fired? So,
and I want to put a statement up from Twitter from the president.
Something wrong in Georgia? Did the lights go out down in Georgia? We don't know yet. We got to figure it out, baby. We're looking into it still. I pulled this article about Pennsylvania real quick. I saw in Gateway Pundit. More on Pennsylvania. Another statistical analysis shows roughly 300,000 Biden votes are questionable. And I keep going back to this number because that's the number that the allegation came out about Skinny Joey Merlino printing up 300,000 ballots. Are these those 300,000 ballots? We don't know that yet. But I keep hearing these numbers. 300,000 and 600,000 was the number that Giuliani's talking about. So is it possible 300,000 to 600,000 ballots are not good in Pennsylvania? We'll have to see how that plays out. But if that's the case, that's enough to flip the race back. So we have to get to the bottom of what's going on here, right? This was the last thing out of Pennsylvania from Gateway Pundit. Just in, Pennsylvania court invalidates 2,349 absentee ballots in Allegheny County where the voter did not date their declaration. By Christina Layla, Gateway Pundit. Pennsylvania court on Thursday invalidated 2,349 absentee ballots in Allegheny County where the voter did not date their declaration. Commonwealth Court Judge P Kevin Brobson on Thursday reversed the lower court judge and directed the elections board to exclude the challenged 2,349 ballots from the certified returns about election for the county of Allegheny. Quote, there is an obvious and salutary purpose behind the requirement that a voter date the declaration. The date provides a measure of security, establishing the date on which the elector actually executed the ballot in full, ensuring their desire to cast it in lieu of appearing in person at a polling place. The presence of the date also establishes a point in time against which to measure the elector's eligibility to cast the ballot, as reflected in the body of the declaration itself, quote, unquote, the judge wrote. Judge Brobson said the votes in question will not be counted, quote, because the votes are invalid as a matter of law, unquote. So there you have it, guys. There's a lot of news breaking out here. The hand audit is done, but it's just an audit. It's not a full recount as far as I could tell. And we'll have to see if Trump's team and Trump's camp ask for a full Georgia hand recount. And there is 2 counties being recounted in Wisconsin, Dane, and I forgot the other one that Trump's paid for. We'll have to see how those play out. And they didn't certify out of Wayne. Wayne County in Michigan will not certify. The 2 Republican canvassers won't certify, so they went back. And so we'll have to see how that plays out, guys. So a lot of news coming out with the Sidney Powell and everything else. So we'll keep our eyes posted. And, my last point, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. And I'll do a little bit of a personal rant before I go. And, think about it. If you're planning on, and this is a theoretical, if you're planning on rigging something and you have a plan in place, why would you need to do all these different things, right? In other words, if there's a way I can put 3% of the vote, if that's the allegation, if I can put 3% right off the top to the other, well, isn't that enough to make you usually win? Well, not in this case, because in this case, if you listen closely to what Sidney Powell said, she said that the vote total overwhelmed the algorithm, which means that whatever the algorithm you put in place, it wasn't enough. So that's why they had to stop the vote, in my opinion, because they realized that we can't switch it fast enough this way. We got to print up a lot of other ballots to fix this problem in some of these states. That's how big this blowout, I think, was. And that's yet to be determined, but we'll see how it all plays out. But why would you need to cheat 5 ways from Sunday if you got the rig in, right? You should be able to win with just one small rig. And with that, I'm going to end this broadcast, and I wish you all a nice evening. And this is Ash, WAT News, signing off.